we've got Richard calling in from Arizona, pronouns he, him, saying that he has a God belief that he is prepared to defend using the argument from technological singularity. That sounds very interesting. Richard, you are on AXP with Emma and Forrest. Hello, how are you today?
Hi, Richard.
I'm great. How are you guys? Hi, Emma. I'm a big fan of both of you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yay.
Yeah, awesome.
So tell us about what you're thinking here.
Videos about the guy who's definitely not a doctor. And Forrest, I recently watched your video about the conversation with Gramps, and I'm hopeful we can have a productive conversation.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Great.
I love that.
Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things about myself, just so you kind of get a judge on me. You know, in terms of morality, I believe that people can do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting someone else. I lack belief in any supernatural phenomena, ghosts and psychics and such. I believe the world is round and 4 billion years old. Climate change is real. Evolution is real. Moon landing wasn't faked. Donald Trump is a criminal. Sovereign citizens are deluded. And yeah, the controversial belief that I have is that the technological singularity is coming and that it's basically going to be God.
Okay. So, like, we really quickly, before I started the show, I saw your call on the call screen. I Googled technological singularity to make sure I knew what we were talking about. And what I got from that was that this is a hypothetical point at which technology becomes so uncontrolled and is developing, or rather, it's developing so rapidly, and AI has gotten to a point where it's self-driven in such a way that it becomes just completely out of our control, and the implications for humanity are unbeknownst to us, and it's going to change everything fundamentally in every possible way, and we have no idea what that's going to look like, and it could be terrible. And like, are we talking about the same thing here?
That's exactly what it is. A related topic is accelerating change, which is basically just the idea that technological growth itself is on an exponential growth curve. And we're basically at the point where, you know, if you have a chessboard and you put 1 and then 2 and then 4, and, you know, the numbers get very, very big. And we're at that point now, pretty much. You know, we're just a few years out from the singularity happening.
Okay, so I agree that we are on an exponential growth curve. The way that, you know, technology, it's something technological advancement doubles every X amount of years and blah, blah, blah. I agree with that. I don't agree, or I want to know more about where do you then say we are for sure a couple years out from this hypothetical situation where that becomes uncontrollable? Where do you make that connection?
Well, okay, specifically, it was Ray Kurzweil who made the original predictions in his book in the late 90s. It predicted a date roughly by 2045. He updated that in, I think it was like 2019, and said it was even more, you know, within 10 years, he said then. And so I expect we're about 5 years out now. And, you know, we are at the point where even futurists are not able to predict, you know, where we're going to be in 5 years, because the technology is, I mean, the AIs are already almost, not quite, but
sure
at human level.
But what I'm driving at is, like, if we know that that's a hypothetical thing, if we know that that is a potential risk, wouldn't it make sense that we would account for that and couldn't the technology get to a point where we make the technology that allows us to avoid this singularity of technology? Is that a thing? The Jetsons was set in 2062. So, like, some guy several years ago said that by a few years from now, we'll be at this place. I don't believe that either. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible, and I think it sounds like a really cool story, and it's definitely a cautionary tale that we should take seriously. But to put enough stock in it to actually be concerned about it, especially in such a short time frame, seems to me to be a little bit extreme.
Well, it is extreme, but that's the nature of exponential growth curves. You know, they go out of control very quickly. And you kind of got me off track a little bit, but you know, the argument that I would make is that, you know, you said when you were talking to Gramps that, you know, that models they're never right, but that they can be useful. And, you know, with the part of the nature of the singularity is that, you know, anything I propose is actually not crazy enough. You know, it's going to be wilder than that. But if we do imagine a world that, has mature nanotechnology, and all, the whole planet is blanketed in self-replicating nanomachines. They're all networked together with like 15G wireless and powered by a super intelligent AI. Then you have a being or group of beings that effectively, on a planetary scale, is everywhere, knows everything, and can do anything.
On a planetary scale.
That meets on a planetary scale.
And also, when you say knows everything that they have access to. And when you say can do anything within the laws of physics on that planet that isn't outside of the capacity of what they can build by themselves. So like, exactly. You are talking about a really cool, potentially doomsday scenario. But when you started this call, you said you're talking about for lack of a better word, it seemed a god. I don't know if you meant that word to be literal or if you meant it to be kind of metaphorical. I still think even that then is a bit of a stretch. You're still talking about, in the worst case scenario of this situation, you're talking about one planet and with one thing on it in a whole universe of nothing. So who cares? Well, why call that a god?
I mean, this is I care. I mean, it's humans in general would care, and it's our planet. It affects us. You care about climate.
Yeah, but the word God tends to also extend beyond just our planet and the purview of our interests.
Well, no. A lot of traditional God concepts are pretty much just about the planet. Most of them don't deal with the universe that much. I mean, we only deal with what's within our perceptual range, and that's on a planetary scale for 99.9% of our experience.
You're talking a little g God, just a thing that can do really cool stuff on a big scale.
Well, I'm proposing the little g because I don't know what the limits are, and I can't support the big G. With the exponential growth curve, perhaps it could go to a universal scale and figure out some way to, with quantum entanglement or something, create copies of itself everywhere else. But that's not something I can.
Well, that's not. Sorry, that's not what quantum entanglement is. But also, if I can I just dumb it because I'm not the science one.
I'm using that as a just a concept.
Sure. If I can just kind of dumb this idea down, and I'm not trying to do this in a rude way. I'm doing this for me as not a scientist. You're essentially worried about the Borg. We're becoming the Borg. Is your concern? It sounds like
that's a potential path. Like I said, any model we actually propose is not accurate. So
because it's not crazy enough.
Or it could be just AI, becomes nanomachines everywhere and eliminates humanity. And
if you don't mind, if I can just rant for 1 second, I have something of an issue, and I'm a big sci-fi fan, so I see this everywhere. AI is vastly, vastly overestimated right now, and I blame sensationalized news headlines and how excited we get about the warfare between big tech companies. Really, the kind of general AI that is popularized and controversial and a big topic at the moment is not. It could never reach the heights of the Singularity. It really is just deriving predictions from human input. I think it's a cool idea, but I don't think there's a lot of value in worrying about us essentially becoming the Borg because of the Singularity in a few years, if that's not too mean.
Well, it's basically inevitable from what I understand of the scientific, the progress of our technological advancement. It's just going to happen. I mean, and as far as the AIs currently go, are you current on where the technology is right now? Because Claude 3 was just released and it's pretty impressive.
Right, and I'm sure that it could be even scarier if it is. But I'm sure that it's scary, and I'm sure it could be a lot scarier. I'm not convinced that it therefore is inevitably going to get to this crazy place where it takes over the planet and there's micro machines and nanobots and blah, blah, blah. It's what you're doing is you're taking a thing which at the very beginning of this call, I recited what I saw from the definition, which was that technology would get to a point where it becomes completely uncontrollable and unpredictable. And you said, yes, that's what you're talking about. And you're saying this point, which is so uncontrollable and unpredictable, is going to happen in this way at this time. And like, you took a hypothetical concept about chaos and turned it into a doomsday prediction that you're damn near setting a date for. And so like, I agree that this is a scary concept. I don't agree that it's definitive or that it's inevitable or that it's going to play out exactly this way. That you can make a logical progression of it, and I can make a different logical progression of it, and we can both be great best-selling sci-fi writers, and it'll be great. But like, that's none of that is something to actually seriously concern yourself over. If you're really worried about this stuff, like for example, autonomous weapons. Autonomous weapons aren't really an issue right now, and yet like hundreds of scientists from all over the world have signed petitions demanding that we never make them. Never make autonomous weapons, because we understand logically that could exist and we want to avoid that future. So if we are talking about this singularity where like AI gets out of control, why not just say, as we're approaching that point and we're realizing that, a bunch of the tech guys all get together and they're like, yo, this is something we need to be concerned about. So let's all agree not to make something smart enough to do that, or to put a kill switch in it for when it does, or for whatever other thing. Sure.
Yeah, because that's not realistic. I mean, the technological advancement is going to happen. You can't prevent it. The only way that it doesn't happen is if civilization collapses first.
And who's to say that that's not more likely?
You're not going to stop. It is that I would, estimate maybe it might even be a coin flip on whether we spiral out of control or reach the singularity first. But you're not going to stop technological progress any more than you could stop someone from discovering the wheel. It's out there. We're not even inventing things. We're discovering properties of the universe, right?
So what do you propose, Richard? Is this a doomsday message to adopt nihilism and just go out and live my crazy life before the singularity hits, or we destroy ourselves? Or do you have a proposition?
You just believe in technology because you want to sin. That's all.
I just want to go out and live my life. Sorry, Richard.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do have some epistemological conclusions. I think you would even agree with them, and that the best way to contribute to society is to be a scientist or an AI researcher or a science advocate, to work in any field that supports society, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or an Uber driver, and to not do things that are going to make society collapse. Don't rob or steal or try to overthrow the government or vote for Trump.
Yeah, I agree with those things. I mean, I can't vote for Trump, so I'm already halfway there.
So all this is to say, we've got a ton of other callers I want to jump onto, but like I think the long and short of this is like, I think you and I can both agree, Richard, that like this is a scary and terrifyingly not impossible scenario that you're talking about here. However, I think the biggest disconnect that we're having is like, you seem a lot more sure that this is absolutely for sure going to happen. And I don't put any stock in that as it is. And then it looks like Richard hung up. And so like, we'll leave it there, I guess.